The U.S. lags far behind other nations in building a clean energy economy. A panel discusses how this nation can catch up. The EPA will decide later this year whether to boost the amount of ethanol in fuel. And commuter rail locomotives are going green with new low-emission diesels. We get a close-up look.
From the Energy News Center in Washington, D.C., this is the Energy Report with Susan McGinnis.
Good afternoon, I'm Susan McGinnis. Thanks for joining us for the Energy Report. While the move toward a clean energy economy remains high on the Obama agenda, folks in energy circles and beyond worry the U.S. lags far behind many other nations when it comes to furthering clean energy innovation, building clean energy infrastructure, and generating green jobs. That was the theme of an energy conference held today at the Center for American Progress, also hosted by the Apollo Alliance. Clean Skies News moderated one of the panel discussions today. We also talked to former White House Chief of Staff and current president of the Center for American Progress, John Podesta, about where the U.S. stands globally when it comes to clean energy.
I think we're definitely falling behind. Let me just give you one statistic. 10 years ago, when I was still working in the White House with President Clinton, the United States had 45% of the PV solar production market. Now we're down under 10, and China has 45%. If you look at wind, if you look at solar, and you look at particularly countries that have applied themselves to trying to move towards a clean energy future, Germany, Spain, China, now even India, Brazil, we're dropping further back in the rankings. The United States now is 19th in per capita spending on clean energy.
The University of Alaska was chosen as the country's first regional climate science center. Secretary of the Interior Ken Salazar made the announcement today, calling the university a perfect fit for the center and ground zero for climate change. The university is the first of 8 planned centers nationwide being set up by the Department of the Interior. The centers will look at how climate change impacts management of land and will serve as an educational center. Secretary Salazar will announce more climate centers in coming weeks. EPA will decide later this year if it'll change the ethanol blend allowed into the nation's gasoline. Administrator Lisa Jackson told a Senate committee EPA will decide on an ethanol waiver by the end of the summer. Current blending standards allow up to 10% ethanol, but the industry is asking that to be up to 15%. Initial tests have shown that 15 will not harm most engines, but a final decision was delayed at the request of the auto industry. Jackson said EPA is on track to get final DOE test results by May and then move toward a final decision. Shipments of LNG to New England from Canada will double next winter. The company shipping the liquefied natural gas, Canaport, says it'll take advantage of growing demand as well as a pipeline bottleneck from the Gulf Coast. Bloomberg News says that limited access to New England will keep rising production at shale gas deposits from Texas to Pennsylvania from competing for New England customers with Canaport. Right now, the Northeast Gas Association says LNG represents about 20% of New England's gas supply. Canaport's subsidiary Repsol expects to ship 800 million cubic feet of natural gas a day. And taking a look at prices now, we have gas prices down 4% to $4.57 per thousand cubic feet on the NYMEX. This is after the government said supplies fell less than expected last week. Oil also lower, 18 cents lower to $80.38 a barrel. Some Utah lawmakers want the state to take over federal lands and use them for energy production. The state house has passed a measure that would allow the state to use eminent domain to condemn areas it believes the federal government is trying to protect. That land would be developed for energy production, with royalties funding public schools. Officials have their eyes on 3 areas, including one near Arches National Park that the White House has declared off limits to oil and gas development. Republican supporters say the state needs the revenue and the federal government is unfairly keeping that land from development. Democrats and other opponents say the Supreme Court already forbids the practice and the state would be in for a long and costly legal battle. The bill now goes to the state Senate. Well, working on the railroad is about to get a lot cleaner and greener. Here in Maryland, MARC commuter rail is getting 26 new green locomotives. The MP36, built by Motive Power in Boise, runs on low sulfur diesel, and emissions of nitrogen oxide and particulate matter are 70% lower than the 40-year-old engines that they are replacing. They have electric auxiliary power running the lights and the brakes when the train's idling. Idling locomotives are big polluters, and the railroad says the new engines will make a big difference.
Most of our trains park underneath the parking garage here, and when the engines were running, there's a lot of smoke and it got all over the place. Well, these units will not have that anymore. They have small units that will run, and they will basically keep everything ready to go. All an engineer has to do is get in there and start the main power unit up, and off they go.
And the MP36 is more fuel efficient. While it still gets just 4 miles to the gallon, the older diesels that it replaces got just 3. You can check out Dan Goldstein's entire report online at cleanskies.com. In anticipation of the Academy Awards this weekend, Hollywood is starting to celebrate with some pre-Oscar parties. One party in particular has taken on a green theme, the Global Green USA's 7th annual pre-Oscar party. The theme for this year's event was Greener Cities for a Cooler Planet, with the aim of promoting solutions to climate change by creating healthy green communities. The guest list included Jessica Alba, Serena Williams, and Avatar director James Cameron.
Anytime that we have a gathering of people that are committed to the cause, that can draw press and raise awareness, we're doing some good. The networking here will lead to other projects, which hopefully can raise money and raise awareness and all those sorts of things.
For the past 7 years, Global Green has collaborated with the Hollywood community to raise global awareness of smart climate solutions, from celebrities driving green cars to the Oscars, to building green homes, buying green products, and voting for green political leaders. Let's take a check now with some goings-on around the Beltway tomorrow. Beginning tomorrow, continuing all weekend, the Energy Council has its 2010 Federal Energy and Environmental Matters Conference at the Madison Hotel. Clean Skies News will be there. 1 p.m., the National Academy of Science is meeting on the economic and environmental impacts of increasing biofuels production, and Clean Skies News will be there as well. That is the Energy Report. We'll see you again tomorrow with your latest energy news. For any suggestions or comments about our programming on Clean Skies News, we'd like to hear from you. You can email us at contact@cleanskies.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. From all of us here in the Energy News Center, good night.